Hello and welcome to this episode of Chamber Chatter. My guest here today is Garett Steed, and we are going to have an amazing conversation. But first and foremost, Crumbl cookie. You didn't bring any.
I know. I can't believe I did. If I would have gone by one of my stores this morning, it would have been a lot easier. I should have. I can't believe I came empty-handed.
Well, that's okay. We'll forgive you.
Still opportunity for redemption.
Opportunity for redemption. Well, welcome to the North Tampa Bay Chamber.
Thank you, Hope.
Our podcast studio here is the Emery's Rock Realty Studio, and we've got a nice little conversation that we're going to have today.
Looking forward to it. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So we're fellow Gators.
Fellow Gators.
Go Gators. So Garett is a multi-unit franchisee for Crumbl Cookie, but that's not where you started. You don't just start with 5 franchises. So talk a little bit about your journey.
Sure. Well, thank you again for having me. It's a pleasure and a blessing to be here. So thank you. So I grew up in Utah. With amazing parents, not in the business field. My good father was, and is currently, this is his last year, he's a therapist. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom my entire growing up life. But business was something that became intriguing to me over the course of my experience in undergrad at Utah State University out west. And then was recruited out and worked for the Fortune 200 company, General Mills. So worked on some fun brands like Cheerios and Lucky Charms and Pillsbury and Betty Crocker. And we had a blast. We moved from Utah to Arkansas, where my customer was Walmart in Bentonville. And then
that's quite a geographic change.
Yes, it was. We loved it. Bentonville is one of the best kept secrets.
I've heard.
Just loved it. And then from there, we went to Minnesota at our corporate headquarters and then down to Florida. And I was on the Publix account down here. And great people, great experience, helped build out my business acumen, all of which obviously happened before franchising.
Yeah. You got to work your way up.
Yeah.
So you've kind of been in the grain industry. It's just a different type flour, a different.
General Mills is gold medal flour, and a little bit different on our with franchising and direct to consumer. So it's been an absolute ball.
So how did you go from General Mills to owning a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 franchises?
That's a good question. The honest answer, Hope, is we fell into it. I think my poor wife, Kylie. She, for date nights, I would, say, she's like, what do you want to do? And I'd say, let's think of business ideas.
You got the business bug.
That sounds not very fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a really romantic dinner.
Yeah, very, very, very romantic. So I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. Getting to General Mills, I felt like it built out my business acumen. I had a blast working with those people, working on those brands. But as I continued to look into other opportunities for entrepreneurship, I fell into franchising, of just looking into it and reading about it and listening to some podcasts about it, and became interested. And so I just started to go down a rabbit hole, not thinking I'd end up on the other side with 5 locations. Here in Tampa, but the deeper we got, and in particular, Crumbl was exciting because Crumbl started in Utah, up at Utah State where I was attending school, the first location. And so my senior year is when that first location opened. And so my wife and I were some of the very first customers to go to Crumbl.
That's really cool.
And it was it used to be what was the Creperie, and the founders, Sawyer Hemsley, Jason McGowan, they had a short-term lease. They were demolishing the building in, I think, about 6 months. The Crumbl corporate, you can correct me, but I think that's for their story in all intents and purposes. I mean, they just found something and made it blow up, and they've done a fantastic job on it. And so we feel fortunate enough to kind of ride on the coattails, and that's what franchising, I think, ultimately is you ride on the coattails of those that have built something really great, and helping to provide opportunity to scale what we have believed to be a great brand.
There's a lot of misconceptions with, I think, franchises. People don't realize that the owners are your neighbors.
Yeah.
And that you are a small business.
Yeah.
You're just because you have the corporate name behind you, you're still there. You're still working it. Every franchisee that I know is always in their store. And so people are like, oh, no, it's just a franchise. Well, it's a business. You're still running it. You still have to make sure that you are holding up what they built.
Absolutely. And you think of it as a lock and key, right? I mean, Crumbl now has well over 1,000 locations across the country, and they opened in 2017, that first store in September of 2017.
Wow. That's exponential growth.
Super fast. It's unprecedented. I think perhaps, graduate schools will study it in the future, right? As to what was some of the things that perpetuated them to drive faster growth than, many other food franchises. I mean, at one point in time, they were one of, if not the fastest growing food franchise in America. And I think that for us, as we jumped into it, Crumbl was still very new, still very fresh. Our first phone call to Crumbl was in the top of 2020.
Oh, wow.
So pre-COVID, just like January, like just a couple months before COVID hit. And so, we felt like we were fortunate enough to get in early before, franchise agreements. They pretty much, for the most part, shut down new franchisees and just allowed existing franchisees to expand. And so we felt like, this was a great opportunity. But with that comes the opportunity as an entrepreneur to find ways to develop processes. Yes, they provide us the recipes, and yes, they've done a fantastic job with a lot of the support, but also recognizing that they're hopefully choosing franchisees that are going to be proactive,
right,
deliver grit, and find ways to drive efficiency to both top and bottom line, right? How can we drive sales along with all the national marketing that they provide? How can we get involved in the local communities? To then also just driving efficiencies, providing processes and systems. And we weren't very good at this at the beginning, spending hundreds of hours every week, combined, both my wife and I, as we're trying to get this up and running. We had corporate experience, and I, at General Mills, I had corporate experience, but didn't have any. This was our first business. This was our first rodeo.
Well, entrepreneurship, you can have experience, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You have to start with one.
Yeah.
So when you got into the franchisee, did you carve out all of Tampa Bay to be able to have it, or were you given like so many, or have you bought them incrementally?
That's a great question. And I'll preface this with, our group purchased a 3-store area development agreement. And so we had 3 different areas. We had Clearwater, West Chase, and Trinity. And, to Crumbl's credit, as they're growing and, exponentially, they're trying to just stay up with everything that's there. And I think Crumbl would be first to say this, is that I think they oversaturated the market to some extent. And so we didn't have the rights to full Tampa. There's quite a few of us franchisees that are here. But I think that's the trade-off for growth. I mean, Crumbl's built an amazing brand, but it came with some trade-offs, I think, with some of the cannibalization that we see today. And that's, I think, the trouble that there's some other brands. I won't name names of some other brands, but I think there's some other brands out there that became in the franchise selling business rather than in the ice cream or sandwich or whatever selling business, right? And I think Crumbl was becoming potentially victim to that. And Jason McGowan, the CEO of Crumbl, really started to focus on, average unit volume, AUV. For individual locations, how can we really deliver? It was about, let's beat the competition. Let's beat the competition. Let's come in and let's just crush them, and they won't even know what Crumbl was until
who's
they're
your
everywhere.
Competition? I mean,
substitutes now, right?
Okay.
I mean, we have, you have great we want competitors. I think competitors are good for the market,
absolutely.
Right? We have Crave Cookies that's off of 54, and there's a couple of locations there. And then we have Insomnia Cookies. So if we're looking for direct competitors from that perspective, but Crumbl has dropped cookies from the name. About a year ago, it's now just Crumbl. We're now in the dessert space in industry, not just cookies. Okay. So our competitor is technically anybody out there that's a dessert, right? Like we're looking at the nothing bundt cakes. We're looking
Yeah.
at the Krispy Kremes. We're looking at any baked good offering that's out there and taking a swing at saying, we think we've figured out something pretty incredible. How do we play in the total baked dessert space beyond just cookies? We know we do cookies well. How are we doing? And as we did that, as Crumbl launched that about a year ago, we've seen tremendous success as franchisees from that.
That's really cool. What did you guys add?
So there's like Tres Leches cake,
Oh.
one of my favorites.
Yeah.
There's this week, try to get it if you can. It's Dubai brownie. Dubai chocolate is huge right now.
I just saw that. I'm going to have to try that.
It is very good. Right now, we can't even keep up with ingredients. We've never had this particular issue across the country before. And as I'm talking with my friends that are in Minnesota and North Carolina and Washington that are franchisees with Crumbl, and we're all facing it, is we can't get ingredients fast enough. We did not expect this kind of demand.
So what do you do in a situation like that? Do you just make it like a 1 day a week kind of special to keep up with the demand? And
yeah, it's a tough, and right now the direction that Crumbl's going is, we're choosing, if we can get ingredients as fast as we can, we'll offer it and we'll have it there for the customer. We want to help the customer and provide that satisfaction if we can have the ingredients. That's the challenge right now, is having those ingredients. And so there's some that we just don't have, and so we'll sell out, and we'll tell our customers, like, we are trying to keep this in stock. I mean, for context, our sales are up versus last week about 160%.
oh my gosh.
This week. So our teams are doing a fantastic job doing everything they can to keep it in stock with production. I mean, everything's made in-house at
Sure.
Crumbl, right? They're true bakers. They're mixing it, they're balling it, they're scooping it. Everything that goes into the baking process of any baked dessert is made on site. And so Dubai brownie is no different. And so we're trying to keep it in stock. It's less about the system and the process and more about just access to ingredients.
Access to ingredients. So like when you do have it, do you put out like a little social post that says, hey, we're going to have Dubai brownies at 1 p.m. today. Come and get it. Then you have your staff already.
Yeah, I mean, the national marketing team, I think that they're all over that, and that's their job. Our job as franchisees is to just communicate as best we can when customers come in store, when they're ordering on delivery, is to communicate directly through that. And those are some of the challenges and the things that we see, that we do the best that we can to communicate to the customer, and letting them know, this is unprecedented for us and I think that word gets used a lot at Crumbl, but it really is for this particular dessert. We haven't seen this kind of traffic for dessert in a long time, if ever.
Well, don't plan your budget next year around it.
That's right.
It's a little inflated around the.
It is. It's a great offering. Consumers are raving about it. It's been great.
Well, that's a cool story. So when you decide to become a franchisee for Crumbl, do you have to go to like Crumbl school?
Yeah, great question. So Crumbl was early enough. We didn't. Now they have Crumbl University. They didn't when we were franchisees as some of the first few in Florida. For us, we took a lot of the trainings they had, but part of it again is hopefully that Crumbl's trying to find franchisees that are willing to go out and figure it out. Right? They provide us a lot of good support, but we had to figure out systems and processes to ensure that we represented the brand well. Right? Again, yes, they provide the recipes and ingredients, but it's our responsibility to hire the right people.
Oh,
right?
that's a huge.
Have the right systems and processes. Again, Crumbl was relatively new still at this time, and when we opened up our first location, and we opened up our 5 within about a 2-year period,
Okay.
just over 2 years. And so we were constantly finding new ways, and I think we have some of the best leaders in Florida, if not the world, that have added their value and provided insight and argued good points and disagreed with each other productively, that has helped us shape and become the entity that we are with within our franchise. There's things that are consistent across Crumbl to help maintain brand consistency. But when it comes to running the actual business, when driving efficiency, particularly to the bottom line, a lot of that falls to you as the franchisee. We talked about being fellow Gators,
Yes.
right? Fortunately, getting an MBA from the University of Florida, I learned a lot about, driving, maximizing profit, and finding, the revenue cost curve, right? And looking at, all our,
Yes.
through Dr. Rush's economics class.
Yes.
Shout
Thank
out
you,
to
Dr. Rush.
But basic principles within business that helped build out my business acumen that I think ultimately has helped our business, along with a lot of feedback from our leaders who know the food industry very well, have been with us. We have some managers we have a manager with us that's been with us since day one.
Oh, that's awesome.
4+ years ago. And so again, what we think are some of the best leaders. And I think that's how we've tried to run our franchise, is we call it the 3 Ps of running a business. The first is people. We certainly are, we could say we're in the dessert business. The reality is we are in the people business.
Absolutely.
This past June, we invested a lot of time and effort and energy. We had speakers, including Ty Fowler, come.
Ty.
Yes, and we had him come along with 2 others, another franchise owner with fish window cleaning, Cole Robinson. She was award-winning franchise owner. She's fantastic. And Lynn Skeet, who's a project manager for a nonprofit organization. We had them come as speakers. We invited all of our leaders to come. Most of our leaders. We had all of our general managers, and they were able to select a couple of their shift leads or assistant managers to come participate in this 4-hour conference, half-day conference. And we invested our time and effort into that. And the reason we want to do that is because we know that there's always an opportunity to grow, particularly, there's so much that I can share or say as a franchise owner to them, but finding external resources of differentiating experiences, I think, provides a lot of value to our leaders.
Absolutely. That's how we learn. And when you invest in your employees, they're going to reinvest that in your business.
Yeah.
So what are your other 2 Ps?
So the next is process.
Okay.
So it's all about process. You don't have a process in place, prepare to fail. So it's having the right systems and processes that help us not only from a people standpoint of how it is that we hire, right? We're really intentional about hiring slow and firing fast.
Yep.
We're really intentional when it comes to production and how production looks. We're really intentional about the customer experience. How does that look? There's some concepts or principles that maybe Crumbl, gives us as franchisees, but that falls on us. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately that leads us into the 3rd P, is knowing your P&L. So you have processes and systems that also help impact ultimately the profit and loss or the income statement, right? Of, top line growth, bottom line growth, what's everything in between? Are we driving Six Sigma and driving some efficiency to our bottom line and maximizing our profit? What are the trade-offs? If we choose to, do something here, where is it
taking from
here?
Or what's the impact going to be?
Exactly. And we get a lot of feedback, and we try to ask, and we're not perfect at it, but we certainly try to ask that feedback from our managers who are in it day in, day out. We've really delegated a lot of the responsibilities to them, from most all the operations when it comes to ordering, scheduling, right? We have targets and goals that we're driving the ship with. But a lot of that now, not back when we first started, but now, especially now, we've really put that on them. And most of them are tenured and have been with us for years.
And again, that gives them equity and stake in the process. And like you said, they're the ones with the hands-on.
Because they built it.
They built it. So many times businesses, corporate especially, will have these processes and they don't know how it affects down the line.
Absolutely.
But in their mind, it's a beautiful plan. But being able to do that and giving them that delegated authority, if you will,
certainly
to have some input in it, I think is building a culture.
Yeah.
And
certainly.
So where are your 5 locations?
So Clearwater, West Chase, Trinity were our first 3. And then we actually signed for another 3-store area development agreement. So we have the rights to Carrollwood, North Lakeland, And then we have the rights to St. Pete, but we haven't found real estate down in
Oh,
St. Pete.
yeah.
It's
Good luck
tough.
with that.
Yeah, it's tough.
We've got some other franchisees that are doing the same thing down there looking for space. St. Pete's having a really cool renaissance right now. And so it's fun to watch that come to bloom.
Yeah.
What they planted so long ago.
Absolutely.
So you're a husband and a father and an entrepreneur. How do you do it all?
This is a question as I go talk to MBA programs, undergrads, to speak. The question, right, is always like, how do you do, home work-life balance? And I would argue that there is no such thing. There is no balance. There is prioritization.
Oh, beautifully said.
Is that you need to prioritize, and it's a bit of a juggling act. And it's finding out which ball in the air is glass and which one that can't fall and which one can bounce. And it's a constant everyday evaluation. I will be the first to say that I am not perfect at this process. But I will say, like, for me, it's most important is my relationship with God and my family. That's ultimately what wakes me up in the morning. That's what gets me excited to live every day, is knowing those facts. I think about, we sit here and we talk. If you look up, Tampa Bay did a great article on my wife a couple years ago over Mother's Day about mothers in business. And we would not have our franchise. I was getting my MBA, working full-time for General Mills, raising 3 daughters at the time.
Oh, my God.
Until we opened up our second location.
My heart just sunk because I know what goes into all of those components.
And our son was born, in between our third and fourth store. It was, he came, I think, he came a week after our fourth store opened.
Oh, bless it.
But we had, and I had just graduated at that point in time, but it was a lot. And I think it was, without Kylie, my wife, we wouldn't have a franchise. She was in it. We'd both wake up at around 4 in the morning. I'd start studying. She would drive to Clearwater across the bay, open the store, get it going at 5 a.m., start mixing, getting everybody going. And then, just a few hours later, she'd leave. The general manager would come in, take over. During my lunch hour at General Mills, I'd be working on the second store. And then I'd get off at 5, run over to the store, relieve the general manager, finish, clean up. We weren't efficient. We didn't have good processes. You're new. You're learning. You get done at midnight, 1 a.m., and you wake back up at 4 a.m.
Oh, my God. That's not sustainable.
No, it's not. And we knew that. And that was some great learning, right? That we learned through that. And, I've asked my wife since then, would you ever go back and do that again to have, what we have now? And she said, I'd do it again to be where we are now. But she's like, I wouldn't just do it again.
Right. Just for the fun of it.
Right.
But you take those lessons that you've learned throughout that and you can duplicate it to be better.
Certainly.
So each store is going to get a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And you're going to not have to be there at 1 o'clock in the morning and back up at 4 studying for your MBA.
Totally.
And,
100%.
Oh my God, you just wore me out with that way. I'm like, golly.
I don't know that I recommend.
No,
that.
I don't. If anybody wants advice on that, no.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
My advice would be get your MBA directly after your undergrad. Just stay in school. Just get your MBA and be done with it.
And I think too is it's like, for me, it was so good to get some real world experience, right? To go to General Mills, work with who I believe are some of the brightest minds, some of the best people, and then work on some great brands and build out a little bit of that business acumen. I was grateful for that, and then go get an MBA. I don't know that I'd recommend, then going and starting a business,
right? All at the same time.
And I obviously. We had a family and growing a family, and we prioritized that early on. I was married young. I was married at 22. My wife was 21. We had our first child. I was 24.
You've done everything early.
Like we did it really early, and we're so grateful we did.
How old are your kids?
So we have 3 daughters and a son. Our three oldest daughters. So our oldest, she just turned 8 on Sunday, and then we have a 6, 4, and then 2-year-old boy.
Oh,
so
you got your boy.
Yeah, we have a boy.
God bless you with those girls. Buckle up, Buttercup, is all I gotta say, because I've got a 19-year-old daughter, just one, and it was a heck of a journey. So
good for you. Good for you. We're soaking in every moment right now,
and it goes so fast. And I'm looking back. My daughter started college on Monday, and I'm looking back and going, "I just took you to kindergarten." It goes really, really fast, and just enjoy every moment, every challenge, every meltdown, and
great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice.
And do you have any advice for somebody who's thinking about being an entrepreneur? There's teaching a lot of entrepreneurial programs at higher education institutions right now, going straight into being an entrepreneur, or do you recommend going out and getting some corporate experience so that you can take it back with you? What's some advice you'd give?
Great question, Hope. I think that's going to be different for everyone. For me, that worked. I enjoyed going the corporate route and gaining some experience, but I don't think that is for everyone. I don't know that secular education is for everyone.
Yeah, totally
right?
agree.
I think that you can go and do great things, great stuff without the accolades. Like I went and did that because that's what I wanted to do, and I'm grateful for the knowledge I gained. But you can open up a book. Right. I went for the cohort. I went for the network. I went for the professors I could bounce ideas off of, and I'm grateful and build out my business acumen. And I'm grateful for the experience I had within an MBA, right, or even undergrad, right. But for anyone that's looking to open up something, I would say is be willing to take risks and be willing to fail. Far too often, I think we want to do it perfectly, and I was listening. I saw a quick clip of Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, and I like what he said. He said, efficiency and speed over perfection. It's not to say that we don't want to try to do it well, but we would choose speed over it being perfect every time, or else you'll never bring it to market. You'll have this idea or this thought, just execute it, just do it, take that risk, take that step, be willing to fail a little bit. And I think that's one of the things I think a lot of people, particularly with social media, is we have this desire where we don't want to look bad. Right. And we want to look perfect because that's how social media makes it appear, or and other influences. And my argument to that is it will never be perfect. Go out and try something, take some risks, fall on your face, look dumb for a little bit, right? It's okay. And I think that there were moments I'd never built out a store. I'd never looked at a blueprint of construction plans, right? And the city of Clearwater was just awesome. And I was, and I kind of, you took a risk, right? You risk maybe potentially losing some of your credibility. I went to Clearwater City and said, I've never done this before. They're talking to me in a language I have nothing or no knowledge about.
But don't you think being upfront and telling them that helped you learn that process?
And you can't learn any other way,
right.
Hope, right? Like you have to be able to be willing to be humble enough to ask questions. And again, this is something I am constantly trying to get better at and learn. And this is in no way have I perfected even an ounce of this. And I think that, but I think it's the principle of being willing to ask questions, be willing to take a leap, do something that nobody else has done. And if it fails, and you learn something from it, and let's move on.
I have learned so much more from my failures than I have from my successes.
100%.
Because they hurt. They leave an impact. And then you say, okay, well, I don't want to feel that again. Yeah. What can I do better to not have that failure? And I tell people all the time, I'm like, I have made every mistake there is to make in chambering. You want to make it? I have made it. So let me help you not make that same thing. And I think it goes into a really cool, mentorship of people and of your team and saying, it's okay if this didn't work.
Yeah.
let's try something else.
Yeah.
Let's tweak it just a little bit in giving them that.
Yeah. And I think, along with that, the last piece of advice I'd maybe give is just be willing to do the hard. Every single week, maybe maybe every other week. But there was a time it was every single week I'd get a phone call from somebody and would say, tell me about franchise. I've always wanted to franchise. Like, tell me about franchising. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, right? Everyone would love to make a couple extra dollars, right? Or learn about how to run a business. I think to some extent, maybe there's those, there's certainly those that don't.
Those people that want to sit in their office and not do it. Yeah. And God bless them. Those are our core people.
Yeah, 100%. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone.
No.
It's not. And it's the, for me, it was, this is going to sound extreme, but it's true, is I was prepared to die before I'd allow Crumbl to crumble. Right? Is that we had investors that were on this project. I was, my wife and I are the boots on the ground, the only ones, in, thousands of miles of radius that was working on this, right? This is on us. We have to make this work. And so we're going to make this work. And there's no other option except to make it happen. And for us, the reason that there was that level of commitment, right, is, and maybe some may say that's too extreme. For us, there's a huge, long process for our family to decide or make that decision through prayer and through, investigation and, looking through the franchise model and doing our research and getting into depth and doing everything we can. We're never going to know everything, but we had done as much homework as I felt like we could, or that we had the capacity for, or the information to. Talked to lots of franchisees, did our research, talked to lots of real estate agents before choosing the agent and then choosing the real estate, right? And so, and beyond that. But I think, again, is being an entrepreneur means that you're willing to do the hard. If you're comfortable, you're not in the growth zone, right? There's plenty of growth that comes from being an entrepreneur, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, I'm grateful for you that you came in and shared this story with us. And I hope that it touches somebody in a way that they say, I do have that in me. I have that spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit. I feel like it's something that's either in you or it's not.
Yeah.
I think it would be really hard to learn how to have that entrepreneurial spirit.
Certainly.
And to be able to take those risks and to feel comfortable being uncomfortable.
Sure.
And that is exactly how we grow. If you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
And nobody really wants to die that I'm aware. I shouldn't say that. I was probably off topic, but nonetheless, you understand where I'm going. In business, we want to grow.
Yeah.
That's how we continue to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me today.
I have enjoyed it very much, and I'll be sure to tell Ty Fowler, who's on our board, by the way, that
Ty's great.
Got a great conversation with you, Garett.
No, thank you. Thank you for the time today, Hope.
And we will see what you do next.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.